Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Strange Saturday Super Show. We are coming at you guys with the first volume / the first 5 issues of the series Chew by writer-letterer John Layman and artist-colorist Rob Guillory. John Layman, you might know from In Hell We Fight, Detective Comics. He's also writing the current Titans run that we are covering on the podcast. And Rob Guillory, you might know from Farmhand, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or WWE Comics.
John Layman, friend of the pod.
Yes,
if you remember, almost a year ago now, he came on to talk about In Hell We Fight.
On the Strange Saturday Super Show.
I was going to say, which I think makes him one of our first double-ups, but I think Grant Morrison has snuck
Grant Morrison's been doubled. We've doubled up. Are you saying specifically for the Strange Saturday Super Show?
For the Strange Saturday.
Yeah, I think he's only the second. I think Grant Morrison was the first double up, unless you count people who have done multiple volumes of the same book.
No, I'm not counting Tim Seeley and Hackslash. So we're doubling up because he's a weird fella, and I think he would, if anything, appreciate us saying that.
I think he would too. But the basic premise here is Tony Chu is a cybopathic, which basically means that when he eats food, he gets visions all about it and how it was made, which he's going to use to solve some crime. So, you got your nice... When did you get your nice physical volume there? Did you, just pick this up?
Or no, I'm sorry, the day before when I was leaving work. We always got copies of Chew, because Chew is everywhere. It's great.
Yeah, Chew, very popular series. One of the more... just to once again mention Hackslash, probably the other one up there with Hackslash in terms of quite popular books which is not typical on the Strange Saturday Super Show. The Max as well is quite popular, but in any case, let's get right into it. Yeah. So, we start with a prologue, which is food being made while somebody cuts themselves and drips into the pot. Drips blood into the pot, I guess is what I should say, if that's not
and evident. To immediately stop us. I know that doesn't bode well for
it does not bode well. Yeah,
good pacing. I love this sequence. It's basically completely silent. There's one caption that gives kind of context for what's happening, and then it's just the sound effects and the very feelings based sensory experience of this being made. So then when you get the cut finger and the blood drip in, it really contrasts the very normalcy and kind of almost ASMR-y bit of the page with, because it's a dense page, with the gross nastiness of someone dripping blood into a pot of soup.
Which, if you just want to give immediate credit to Rob Guillory for his ability to do these small panels that have a lot of effect, so great there. And then we get into what is actually the framing device may be the wrong word, but the framing device of most issues open up with this meet Tony Chu or meet this character, and you get this little blurb that gives you who he is, what you need for this issue, which makes these issues very accessible even if you're not jumping in at issue 1. So very smart idea. But here we meet Tony Chu, like I mentioned. He's a cybopathic, which means he can take a bite of food, figure out where it came from, yada yada. We then get him in a I believe it's a grocery store. Yeah, grocery stores or a corner store.
7-Eleven, actually.
Yeah, a little corner store type thing. We meet John Colby, who's his partner. Tony Chu, by the way, can only eat beets without activating his power, so he buys and eats a lot of beets. That's what he's doing. John Colby, his partner, comes in, buys a bunch of junk food. As they're leaving, we find out that they're on a stakeout, and John Colby was supposed to be staying in the van for the stakeout. He did not do that. This is where we get the very basic premise of, Tony Chu is the by-the-book kind of cop, and then John Colby's kind of the, more offbeat and does his own thing kind of cop. So you get that typical partner dynamic here. We get them then going into the stakeout van and staking out. They have, they have goggles that show them food items, specifically chicken, in people's bags, because we find out that I was going to say poultry. All birds are illegal to consume in this world because of a bird flu that supposedly killed a bunch of people. And basically, we get a person coming out with a ton of chicken, and Tony wants to go after this person. John does not, revealing that the reason he does not is because this is Tony's brother with all the chicken, and Tony was ready to take down his brother.
In fact, perhaps even more so when he saw it was his brother.
Yeah, very much so.
We also get our obviously the cops staking out people buying black market chicken already points to our little dystopia action. But then we get our first actual
which is Chew. It's something. It's like Chow Chew. Yeah, Chow Chew. Yeah. There you go. So Chow Chew. This is Tony Chew's brother. We find out he was like a TV chef until he went on a rant about how the bird flu killing everybody was like complete bullshit, and they're trying to control you. And then gets cut out. We find out that he was taken off the air after that, and the studio that put out the show was fined. It was like $4 million.
$40 million or something.
$4 million, the largest fine in TV history. So it's clear that this is like not something you're allowed to really speak ill of. But anyway, then we get to the actual person they've been staking out for, which is D-Bear, who is a kind of one of the guys who runs the black market chicken trade. I love his design too. He's like this short man in a fur coat with a big gold D. Chain. Yeah. Just a great design. They've been staking him out because obviously running black market chicken, but also he's like a typical like dealer who's like killing people. Yeah, exactly. So like essentially think drug dealer but with chicken, because that's what this world is. But anyway, they decide they're gonna, go in. They kind of gear up with vests and guns and all that. And then we get Agent Mason Savoy coming in and telling them, and also has a phenomenal design, by the way.
Yes.
And he tells them, like, sorry, and we find out that the FDA now, outranks cops. Of FDA is like the big boys in town. And he's like basically telling them, sorry, we have a deal with the bear. And because of that deal, we let him operate his illegal chicken business. And you gotta let that slide. You can't go in and bust that up. You can't arrest him, despite the fact that he's a murderer. And this greatly upsets our pair of partners.
He's a by the book boy.
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't exactly go over well with John either, because he does not like being usurped.
Until he's told that he can go inside and have a nice chicken dinner.
Yes, that's where I wanted to set the stage for that. That's why I was like, doesn't go over well until he gets something out of it, which is that he can dine at this black market chicken restaurant. So the two of them go in. John orders just your typical Boston market feast that you will get.
Typical Boston market feast.
Yes. Listen, every high schooler's had a good Boston market feast, I think.
Okay, sure.
He gets all this chicken, coleslaw, mashed potatoes, bean. Like a nice.
He gets exactly what this black market chicken shop is set up to give people, and our dear boy Chew orders the soup.
Yes, which is, by the way, chicken soup.
Yes, of course.
But he orders this chicken soup. Very importantly, because as they both dig in, we get a gorgeous 2-page splash. If you can hold that up, because I'm reading digitally. Which I don't even want to think how long that took to draw, man. Utterly absurd.
The good news is there are, because I was looking at it, I'm like,
they're reused, right? Some of them,
they are reused, which obviously, but it's so great. It gives such a wonderful effect for how Tony experiences his psychic powers, like getting all of these little snippets of things.
Well, I think the like one of the reasons this one is so sporadic is because it's a soup with like a bunch of things in it.
So much stuff in it.
He's getting all this different stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
And he just goes into like, I'm gonna just read you the lines dialogue here, because I don't think there's a better way to say it. So he goes, Pam Whitaker, hitchhiker, 17-year-old runaway. Elizabeth Bacon, bad girl at a grocery store. She helped him out of the store, carried his bag out for him. He took them, and 11 others chopped them up, did things to him, ate them.
He goes like full kind of
in.
zombie mode.
Yeah, which is like you talked about how great the 2-page splash was to show his powers. And like there's your art side. Here's your writing side of showing the powers with the dialogue here. And it's just such a good transition. But yeah, in any case, he kind of grabs his partner and he's like, we got jurisdiction for this, even if we can't bust up the the
we have a serial killer here that has nothing to do with the chicken.
Yeah, so we can get him, and we get what is one of my favorite scenes in this first issue, which is them busting into the kitchen. They're like, "Police, we're not here for the chicken. We just need what's the guy's name?
It's like Stacy something.
Tracy Lee. And
Lee.
then in what I think is and if you don't want spoilers, maybe jump over this for a second. But in one of the big shocks of or come back, I don't know, whatever. One of the big shocks of Chew is John gets cleavered. Here,
right in the face, out of nowhere, super duper rad. Chaos ensues.
Yeah, this was one of those moments that I think was just so because like they set it up to be this like super traditional partner thing, and it makes sense. I'm like, oh, I'm ready for this typical partner dynamic. Nope, there you go. You get this chaos. John tells him to go after the guy. They have kind of a face off in an alleyway, which. The coloring changes for this scene, which is really great.
Gorgeous. Going from inside the restaurant to out in like the cold of night. And this face-off is so rad because Tracy knows that Chew wants something from him, wants these names, and he starts bartering with his own life because he has no idea how Chew's gotten this information because Jesus Christ, how would he? Chew got it from drinking his soup. And there's this wonderful standoff where Chew is advancing closer and Tracy ends up putting the knife to his own neck as like you need me alive, you want me alive. But Chew does not need him alive. The guy slits his own throat in a truly horrifying scene. Chew then like looms over him and decides to eat him to figure out the rest of the victims. It's so phenomenally paneled. I think this is a huge moment for Rob Guillory here, where it really emphasizes like the weight of the decision, the kind of anger that has come over Chew, and they don't shy away, and in fact actively lean into how fucking nasty this superpower is. Eating people.
That really ends up being fun. But this is like the first time that I think we get that in the story.
We get a glimpse of it when they introduce Chew, because they're like, he can eat an apple and know where it comes from, or eat a burger and see something else. And we see like kind of a cow getting butchered. But this is like...
My point was more like, neither of those on the eating side are gruesome. Like, this is the first time we get the idea of like, oh, right, he could eat a person, or he can eat like, something you wouldn't typically eat. Whereas like in the beginning, it's like, oh, a hamburger, like that's still like a normal thing to ingest. So this is wild and awful, but it works out. We then get his captain kind of being like, you did a great job, take this guy down, but also... You just ate a man, and like because upon you eating a man, and
they came on him chewing on his face. Which is horrifying.
Oof, and so he's like, sorry, man, I'm gonna do the best to keep you out of jail, but you are not a cop anymore. Like that, there's no getting around that. And that is when Savoy reintroduces the story, offers his hand to Chew, and says he is going to be joining the special unit of the FDA. And that's where we end our first issue.
Insane first issue. Absolutely off the rails. And it feels so off the rails, I think, because for the first, like, 2/3 of it, it's very on the rails. Like, it seems a little silly with, like, chicken instead of drugs, yada yada. He's buying a bunch of beets, that's funny. And then it absolutely derails itself and is like, oh no, we're gonna have fun here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's like I said, it's very much set up to be like, okay, it's gonna be this like partner drama, but like, oh, he can eat some food and give them some clues, and they're gonna be stopping chicken dealers. Like, okay, there's your angle, there's your fun, and then it's like, no, that's not what we're doing here. And issue 2 gets even more into that. We jump over to issue 2, and basically we get another little prologue, and we get a fast food worker. A woman returns a hamburger because she didn't want cheese on it. He goes to put his snot in it as a little, screw you for bringing back food that I made wrong. And we find a finger in this burger, which is set up to be important. We get another little.
I think importantly, not a burger, a chicken sandwich, right? Because it came from. No, she says hamburger. How weird.
It's a burger. Yeah. We find out later that they also do other, thing, but it had nothing to do with the burger.
Never mind. Yeah. I'll have to revisit when we get to that part then.
Yeah, I know why you're. But yeah, anyway. So we get another little meet Tony Chu thing. He's psychopathic. Learn that. Great. We don't need to recap that for you guys. And this is when we are introduced to Mike Appleby, who is now Tony Chu's boss at the FDA. It is clear he is not a fan of Tony. He sees that Tony has a beet salad. He throws it in the garbage because he tells Tony, you cannot be eating the stuff that doesn't, let your powers work. And he delivers him this hamburger with the finger. I want to know what your immediate thought was here, because I don't know why my immediate thought was like, oh, he can just eat the hamburger and get stuff here, and then it very quickly transitions into, no, you got to eat the finger.
No, I fully was like, oh no, his lunch is finger.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. I was like, oh, it's disgusting, but he can just bite into the hamburger and leave the finger, right? And it's like, no,
that's not where the juice is. You gotta eat the fingy.
Well, at this point we hadn't gotten and we'll get into the full we had gotten the scope, but I thought maybe you get periphery, so if he finds out how the hamburger's made, he'll see a finger that got cut off, and then no, you got it.
Unfortunately for Chu, that is not the case. His boss immediately is menacing him into eating this chopped off, decomposing finger. Which Chu very much does not want to do, because it's a chopped off, decomposing finger. Yeah. Just because he can get information out of it doesn't mean that it's pleasant to eat. Which I think is a very important factor.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And he's very, very opposed to eating disgusting things. Savoy comes in, and we get kind of a shouting match between Chu and Appleby,
which is very well done.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I love that whole interaction.
Oh yeah, it's so great, both from an illustration and writing standpoint. It's very fun,
very cute.
Yeah.
But then Savoy comes in as a bit of a hero, and he says, "No, don't worry, I'll eat the finger." Turns out Savoy also what was the word? Cybopath.
It's cybopathic.
Cybopathic, and kind of eases Chu in, as Appleby is being very much the stick. Savoy is more of the character. He's like, I'll eat it, it's all right, but also the greater good, yada yada. And his kind of softer approach inspires Chu to, in fact, eat the finger, where we meet Evan Pepper.
Yeah, so Evan Pepper, we get another one of these meat pages, just like the way that the books typically start. He's a health inspector, who essentially finds out that they've been doing some shady chicken dealing here, and because of that, he gets his finger cut off in a bit of good old fashioned intimidation tactics, and that's kind of the end of the vision that we get. He doesn't always get the full picture. That's an important thing of his power too. You don't always get everything. He kind of gets these flashes, whatever. So he barfs into a trash can, and then we find out that Appleby already had the information that Chu got from fingerprints.
It has a print.
Yeah. So this obviously pisses off Tony, and we get another very fun page of I think just everything with Savoy, his physicality is so fun in this book.
Yeah, they make a point to mention his physicality later, his substantial physical appearance, or he describes it in some way. But he does the most fun, swift actions. When he's in action, it is so fun to watch, because he's so proportionally absurd.
Yeah, he's this wildly large man, but he has this very swift method of interacting and things, and it's very great.
And also, just because we're talking about Savoy, the most distinct dialogue you can imagine. The most kind of puff British man style, like, oh yes, and here is our next thing, and yada yada. And it is so well conveyed on the page, and
Oh
I
yeah,
buy into the character so hard with it. Like the
full
way
agree.
that he acts fully supports the way that he speaks, which
Oh
I
yeah.
think you wouldn't necessarily get away with somebody else at the wheel if somebody
I
wasn't
also
paying
want
as
to throw
much
out something that
attention
they
to
do
the
very
character.
interestingly in this book is that they have a distinct lettering style for like whispers or like hushed voices
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
used often, which is real nice. Which is like a faded out, like it's the
Mm-hmm.
same text, just like it's more of a gray versus a black, and it looks kind of faded out. So
Yeah,
it's
when
like
we talked to John Layman with the How We Fight, we had talked to him about lettering his own work, and he had, I think, kind of jokingly brushed it off as like, "Oh, well, it's cheaper if I do it." But
yeah.
he also does a great job with his
Oh,
lettering. I
he's a
think
great
that it's
letter. There's
really,
things in this book that I don't
really
think you
exciting on the page.
do to a letterer, because like there's things where it's like there's just a lot of dialogue in certain sections that I think you'd be
Mm-hmm.
worried with certain pages to hand that to a letter and just be like figure it out. But John, obviously, by controlling it himself, can very much control it himself and make sure
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it works. So it's very like the lettering is very inconsistent in quantity. Like there are moments in which it's like, oh yes, I need a lot here, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
moments where it's like I'm going to let this breathe, and it's really just great because of that. But in any case, he goes to this. I think it's Mr. Beefy's Burgers. I
Mr.
believe is the name
Beefy's.
of this place, and he starts asking questions to the same guy who had stumbled upon the finger, and this guy is full blown. Honestly, this works even better in the modern era where you have like all the like TikTok. I want
Oh
you know
yeah.
the cop people. So he's one of those before TikTok existed, which is fantastic. And he's like, I'm not gonna tell you anything. I know my rights. Yada yada. And he's
My
like,
dad's a lawyer.
yeah, and he's like full on like, cop and it's why Tony's like, I'm not even a police
He's
officer,
not
man.
even
I'm
a
an
cop.
FDA
He's an
agent.
agent.
Importantly here, Tony gets his first look at a blonde woman, and he is immediately taken with her, and that will
Honestly,
potentially
same.
come
We
into
love
play
Amelia
later
in
on.
this house.
Well, I wasn't going to reveal the name yet, Katie, because
They don't know
we're
who
not
she
there.
is.
They're not there. We're not there. There's no Amelia yet. It's blonde
There's
woman
no
right
frame
now.
of reference for
It's
Amelia.
blonde woman right now.
In any case, the
In,
kid really feels like he pulled one over on Tony because Tony got distracted by this blonde woman, and he's like, "Yeah, I told off that cop." Whereupon Tony fakes a phone call. He calls Savoy to kind of give him an update, but it's more so to psych the kid out. It's like, "This is Agent Q. I have Agent Q. I have an exclusion request," and starts to make it sound like he's sending the FDA to execute this kid's family because
yeah,
his dad is
very
like
fun scene.
against the poultry ban, which works super duper well. We have a really cute exchange with Savoy on the one side, who very quickly picks up on what's happening, so it works out well. And then Chew on the other
I
side.
don't know that I'd say it's cute, because this is
I
also
thought it
where
was
we get
cute.
that Savoy has bitten into a dog to find out information on where
Well, I
this
was
murder
saying
could
the
be.
exchange was cute. The biting the dog is fucked up
Well,
as
that's my thing.
hell.
Like, I think Savoy's side is very obviously like not cute. Like, that's the idea. Is like he is kind of like very like he's in this house where there's like letters everywhere. There's some blood on the floor. Like his side is very much
Yes,
supposed to
because
be,
he
I
has
think, like
gone to Evan Pepper's
yeah,
home,
and he has
and
bitten his dog.
apparently found Evan Pepper's dog, and he doesn't tell Chew this, but kills and bites the dog so he can get some
Yeah,
info from the dog's meat. But Chew's gambit pays off, and the kid immediately confesses in a bombastic confession of everything
the
but what Chew
largest
needs,
fucking bubble of
which worked
rambling.
so well.
Yeah.
Such a little shit-eating kid. But they do eventually get a clue by looking into the back room and finding the barrel of chicken substitute, which is why it confuses me that the lady had a hamburger. Um,
Because it's separate. Like like the woman wasn't engaging in the black market. She was just eating at the burger shop normally, and then like we
right.
find
I
out for
thought
the
the
reason.
finger came out of the vat. Because I don't think the finger was
No,
supposed to be in there.
no, but why would it be in the vat. Like they cut it off as an intimidation tactic when he was like at the restaurant, you know.
Right, which is why I thought it would have gone into one of their chicken vats.
But it wasn't in the kitchen that they did it. It was in the like dining room, right? They put his hand on the table in the dining room.
But then how would it have gotten onto a hamburger still?
How would it have gotten on into the chicken vat?
If it had gone into if they're in this place, I can see how it would the finger would end up in a vat of chicken. And then when
maybe they keep their normal stuff there normally. I don't think it's any more. I think it's weird that ended up in anything. But I don't think it's any more.
They sell hamburger. They're an illegal chicken joint.
They're not though. They're a hamburger joint with a back room chicken thing.
To be clear, the sushi Ono, they don't sell hamburger. So how did the finger get onto a hamburger?
I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't think it's the biggest deal. I just find it a little odd that she's very specifically having a hamburger instead of one of these chicken substitute burgers. But in any case, they find this vat of chicken substitute that I believe they think the finger came from, which has the logo of Sushi Ono, a sushi shop that seems to be selling chicken.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the vibe here is that like a bunch of restaurants with all different actual food are selling this backdoor chicken. But yeah, in any case, we basically get Shu is going to go undercover into this place and act like he's going to buy some shady chicken because Savoy is well known in the chicken circles, and so Savoy can't do it. So Tony goes in, and instead of doing what he was asked to do and just order some chicken immediately, he tries to schmooze his way in by first actually ordering some sushi. This gets him caught because nobody actually orders the sushi at this place. So he gets to both eat disgusting sushi, and then he gets attacked by a bunch of Yakuza sushi chicken dealers, which is this really cool scene. He pulls out his badge and he's like, I'm FDA! And this just gives them, they're like, great.
Even more reason to murder him.
Yeah, smaller, he's like, we're just going to chop you into smaller pieces, which is amazing. And we get this beautiful page where
luckily Shu is wearing a wire, so he calls for help, and Savoy is able to dive in. Yeah, and we've got such sick action
with size, which is a wild thing for Savoy to use. But we get this great sequence of Savoy just kicking the ever living shit out of these dudes, including kicking one in the balls, which feels so unnecessary for a man that large to do to a tiny
to a poor little tiny Yakuza man.
I'm not saying poor Yakuza man. I just it's just a wild visual to have a much larger man kicking another one in the balls. That's not your typical.
It's so visual. Good though, and it leans into something that I think this book does super duper well, which is balancing the ridiculousness of the book, the strangeness of it, with the more exciting parts, which I think is something John Layman is kind of an expert in, having read In Hell We Fight and now Chu. It's I see the vision. He knows how to ride that line, and it's super well done.
Oh yeah. But yeah, anyway, they kind of wrap up there, and as they're going, Tony's very concerned that he didn't actually, get to the killer. But Savoy makes it clear they busted a bunch of Yakuza guys that are wanted, and that is more than a good day.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out, though, that because of this, the boss of this sushi Yakuza chicken operation, which is a funny sequence of words, now puts $1 million hit on Tony Chu, which is obviously not
with
great.
One of my favorite lines from the entire book, which is his information dude telling him what happened. He's like, we got us a picture of who set it off before all the security cameras got deactivated by ninja throwing stars. And I'm like, God damn it, that's so fucking funny. What the hell?
Oh, I do love when all the throwing stars were just going in and ripping up Savoy's jacket too.
Oh yeah, so good. The ninja throwing stars, the star of the show.
Oh yeah, fantastic. I mean, it was just such a funny ninja sequence with massive Savoy in there. It was great. But anyway, we jump to issue 3, and this is when we get kind of the reveal that it's John, right? It's John
Cody Cassidy, the partner who got hit with the cleaver.
His partner is not dead and is fully bandaged in a hospital.
John Colby.
I was right. It was John. Okay. So yeah, we Colby is like fully head to toe bandaged up in this hospital, and we get Tony is telling him a story that he has met a girl that he's very interested in. So we get this very cool page of people reading the news. Actually, it's just this guy reading the news initially. And he starts vomiting, and then we see a bunch of people starting to vomit as they throw the news around, and then we see on one of the newspaper articles Amelia about town.
Our
in
blonde
the
woman.
Yes, our blonde woman who is just like happily humming through as everybody is vomiting around
So good.
And then we get our meet Amelia Mintz. We find out that she is a Sabo scriber, which is somebody who can write about food so detailedly that the people reading it experience the sensation of eating it.
Yes.
And she has gotten bored with her job and has taken to only writing about foods that would get a D rating or worse from the Department of Health.
Yep.
And yeah, so her boss is not happy about this. And nor is Tony's boss, as it turns out. Appleby vomits from this, and
Yes.
because of that, he is sicking Tony on her and telling Tony to figure out a way to get her fired. So he's like, come up with charges, whatever. Like, I don't want her writing basically about food no more.
Because she's become a public menace. Even Savoy agrees.
Well, that's the thing. That's not why he wants it. Savoy comes in and kind of delivers the, as Katie said there, like, I kind of expected this, but she is kind of a public menace now that she's writing about shit food. So, but he tells Tony, like, if you could just get her to write about, not shitty food, then she's not a public menace anymore.
Yeah,
so you don't necessarily have to get her fired. But yeah, in any case, Tony is, of course, continuing to tell John about this. And we find out
just horrifically bandaged.
Oh, yeah. But we find out when he reads her descriptions of food, he can essentially experience eating food for the first time without visions. So for him, this is like the perfect compliment because he doesn't get his visions, but he can experience eating food. So he is completely in love. He's trying to back out of doing this, but he's not going to be allowed to do that. So he goes in, waits online despite being a federal agent until he is,
kicked in the ass to move forward.
It's like, dude, you're a federal agent. You don't have to wait in line. So he goes up to the front. He gets in, but we also see this guy with a little pink box, and he's got something he thinks is a new fruit. But as he opens this box, we see it's like glowing, which is interesting, and he wants Amelia to write about it. So kind of get that. But
he's kicked to the curb.
Yeah, we get these French men with guns. I don't know if there's a better way to describe them than Frenchmen with guns.
They're Frenchmen with guns and little egg badges.
Yes, because we will find out that they are a part of Egg. But anyway, Tony imagines his interaction going so well with Amelia where they kiss and fall in love, and then we find out that he's actually just kind of rambling and not getting words out.
And sweating so much.
Oh yeah, and sweating so much. This page is also super, super fun.
Yes. But their meet cute or not so cute is interrupted by Egg. They've shot the security guard and come up to threaten the editor-in-chief so their manifesto can be printed on the next day's edition of the newspaper. In truly, I love this sequence so much. It's so funny. Tony tries so hard to be a hero, and then he gets cornered. Because, shout out to Tony. He is good at his job. Like, he doesn't cower away or anything. I also appreciate that he's not, like, concerned with, like, getting Amelia to safety or anything. He's like, no, there's job to do. It's like, in the weirdest way possible, it reminds me a little bit of when we read Savage Dragon, and it's like, no, he's not gonna be bothered by this pretty blonde lady. He's like, no, I have a job to do, actually. Put the editor down.
But then he gets all these guns pulled on him, and it's like, man, maybe you didn't think this through. And so then we get Amelia realizing that maybe she's got a plan. And we find out that her power doesn't actually only work when writing. So she recites. But importantly, the other thing that you find out in this scene is that her power seems to only work once per food. Because the important thing here is that these men with guns have not already read her article, so she is able to verbally give them an even worse version of the review without the sanitization. and they vomit so bad they all get like stomach damage.
Yes.
Hospitalized.
And both Chu and I fall in love as Chu gets splattered with this vomit.
You're gonna wanna focus in on that because it's phenomenal.
So good. Like, this was true love as he gets just blagorfed. So
blagorfed, good. Yeah.
And again, great lettering from John Layman, both with the sound effects and the way that he shows what's going on with everybody. Thinking good vomit sounds.
Good vomit sounds all the way through. But yeah, in any case, we find out that Amelia disappears after this. She leaves notes on her computer that she'll be back in a month, maybe 6 months, maybe never. And this obviously heartbreaks Tony, but we see her on a plane with the man with the box. Yes, so that's a nice little cliffhanger there. Yeah, and we then also find out that the person he's talking to is in fact not his partner. And
it's hard to tell when they're fully bandaged up, you know.
So he goes into his partner's room, and his partner's like, "You haven't seen me in a while," and he's like, "I was busy," and then he doesn't actually go through telling his partner the story because he already got it out there. But that's the end of the halfway or the middle issue of the 5-issue series. We go into issue 4, where we get Appleby finding out via tip that that Tony has a hit on him from the Yakuza group, and he starts by imagining Tony being brutally murdered in all these ways, and he's so happy about that until he thinks, I might have to do paperwork though if he dies, so I gotta find Tony. But then we cut away to this giant 2-page splash of a telescope, a bunch of dead people, Tony and Savoy, and basically Tony's got no clue what the fuck's going on, but he knows that he heard the Russian word for vampire, and that's our little Kirby splash before we rewind 42 hours earlier, and we find out that a senator is dead. They told everybody it was an overdose, but we find out he was actually hopped up.
They told everybody it wasn't an overdose. They told everybody it was like
they told everybody it was a heart shot. Heart disease rather. But he was actually hopped up with all of these drugs and thus overdosed, and also had a belly full of chicken, which is obviously what we're more concerned about here.
Dastardly.
But in any case, they go to the coroner's office where they were supposed to keep the corpse, intact for
unmolested
cannibalism. Just to put it out there for cannibalism. But the coroner was
just a little bit of cannibalism.
Yeah. The last time Tony just ate the man's face off, just a little bit.
That was first of all, that was a very off the books cannibalism. But yes, the coroner heard that it was the FDA and their cannibal freaks coming. So to avoid a body being mutilated in her morgue, she has cremated the senator's body already. And fatal flaw tells Savoy he can do what he wants with the ashes.
So he puts it out into a fan, and they get covered in. This is also another great page.
I was about to say.
Yeah. You want to talk about the visuals of the page or anything?
I didn't know exactly what Savoy was doing at first, but then
it looks like he was sniffing it. Page, I don't know why that was my initial thought. I was like, can he get it just through smell? Because smell is part of taste. That was actually my first thought. I was like, oh, that's cool. For certain things in a particle, can you just smell it because smell is part of taste? No.
Alas, no. He turns the fan on so it sucks all of the ashes out and sends them billowing all over the office, covering the coroner, Chu, and Savoy in ash. And the way they do the coloring on this page is so great. We have our very normal top panel that matches what was happening in the rest of it. And then it gets basically completely grayed out, and then a little bit less. Yeah. And then you can see
that. But then just shift over because the contrast of the other page. But then once he licks his lips and gets the vision, there's this bright red that's even reflected in his eye, which is really, really rad. And
the way that they look in the world with the ash covering them, it's so It's so comedic. And then the art of it is just phenomenal. Like, what he sees in his vision is fire and sex, and the way that they show that is super cool. Like, huge props to Guillory. That's awesome.
Yeah, we kind of find out that the cremation usually kind of fucks it up a decent amount, which is actually funny because one of my facts that I'm always saying to people is like, if you get cremated, like 80% of what's in there isn't you, so like, you know, maybe rethink that. But I like how that's played here with like, oh, there's just gonna be a bunch of like, you know, fire and stuff because of the process, and it kind of screws it up, which I thought was cool. But what he does see through this is a little bit of stars in space, and it's like, oh,
telescope.
What's that about? Yeah. So Savoy kind of realizes what's going on, and he tells him that we're going to take a trip to Gardner Kavanshania. And Tony, as was I, went, what the fuck is that?
And then we get, again, that really fun framing device of Tony saying, what the fuck is that? And then, this is the fuck is that?
Yes.
And we get our little lore dump there.
It's such a nice framing device. Like,
it's
both
so
in, like, in general, but also for, like, anybody who's coming in at a later issue. Like, it's so, like, I understand how she was able to run for 60 issues with this framing device. Like, it just makes a lot of sense.
Pick this up wherever they wanted.
Yeah.
But we learned that this is an international telescope run by the US and Russia together. For the past 24 years, they've been staring at one planet, the past 2 years they've been staring at one planet. It's been there since 24 years. They've been staring at one planet because it might just have the key to life not on Earth.
Yeah. I don't know. I missed the 24 years thing. That's why I was going off. They got paid $34 million a year. I don't know if that's.
It's 24 light years away.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like the 24 years thing. I didn't. Anyway, in any case, yeah, we find out that they have grossly overinflated their budget as well. Actually, that's not. I thought that's right where we went into. This is what I get for going ahead before I jump to there. So we get the two of them on a plane, kind of going in. Tony is trying to check his messages, and Savoy makes it clear he can't do that because Appleby can track them if they use their cell phones. So,
and if Appleby can't tell where they are, he can't tell them to come home, so they can't be caught disobeying his orders, even though they know that he would not want them going here.
Well, that's the important thing. It's not that they won't be caught disobeying his orders. They are not disobeying his orders until he gives them an order. And thus, by avoiding him knowing what they're doing, he won't tell them not to do it, which is very fun. But in any case...
Unfortunately, that means he's also missing a call from his brother Chow, who we saw earlier, the TV chef and illicit chicken buyer, who seems to have found some sort of shady operation in the illegal chicken market. He's trying to get a hold of his brother because their mom told him that he was working for the FDA now, but he's not able to get through because Chew can't turn his phone back on.
Yeah, unfortunately, and we get, I think it was a funny line leading into that where he was like, unless the phone call's real important, don't take it, and it's like, it was. But in any case, they show up there.
They show up at the telescope.
Yeah, they start talking to the I guess, scientist, but he is at a bar here that they have put in this place. So he's kind of in this bar, and we find out that they have been given way more money than it actually costs to run this shitty looking at the same planet constantly operation. And so they just buy random shit to try to keep themselves entertained, including this bar, a sheep, or a llama.
I believe.
A llama, yeah. So,
and a number of Russian women.
Which implicated to be prostitutes.
We also learn on the helicopter that this is where the senator had come. For whatever reason, he was not put off by the fact that it's like a budget check in the middle of nowhere where it's freezing. And we learn why, because this is just a den of vice and fun. So
fun. Probably fun to visit, not fun for the scientists that have been there for 2 years. They are out of things to do, which they make abundantly clear.
One of them might be fucking a llama. Their face is real close.
Yeah.
Weird implication with the llama.
Weird implication with the fun. And like the dialogue of that being doing anything we could imagine as well.
Yeah.
Like,
but in any case, the presence of FDA agents has excelled some things, we could say. And somebody has planted a bomb here, which starts to explode the whole place. I think just multiple
importantly
of
blows up the
Russian
scientists that they were talking to.
Yes, yeah. And the files that they were given.
Yes.
But all hell breaks loose as the Russian women start to absolutely murder everyone and everything, including, tragically, the llama.
Yeah, that poor llama had no chance, man.
They start to speak to each other in Russian, which Chu does not understand, but our boy Savoy has taken a bite out of one of the dead and now understands. He tries to barter with these Russian women, or the only one left. I believe the others have died at this point. But she explodes yet another scientist, who I believe is he's wearing a full suicide vest.
I was gonna say she doesn't explode him; he explodes himself at her orders.
On her order, yeah.
No, I just felt the suicide angle is
fair.
A little different implication than the
very valid. Unfortunately, Chu and Savoy
that was, having relations with like all of the Russian women when we came in.
Yes.
So this man
he was clearly simping. Big simp behavior to blow yourself up. But unfortunately, she gets away in the explosion. But Savoy assures Chu that they will get a team out here to find her body so they can conduct their very special type of interrogation.
She gonna freeze to death.
Yes.
Very, very sad. But then we get very finally a little sequence that 24 years earlier, thus the 24 light years, will take the transfer. Their planet got Krypton, and it went boom. And so they just missed the only thing that was ever going to happen to that planet.
Truly so tragic. But that takes us to the end of issue 4 and into our final chapter in issue 5.
Yes. So we get another little like kind of flash ahead. It's like a montage flash ahead. Interestingly, we'll get like we get a kind of recapping of Tony being like the last 24 hours have been rough, or it's actually not Tony. It's the narrator being like the last 24 hours have been rough for Tony. We see him getting hit by a gun. We see a blood splatter in his face as we're told that Savoy takes a bullet for him. We see him chomping into a dog. And then we see him lying on the ground with his head over the side, with his hand over the side of his head, and blood pouring out as he is on the ground.
And we learn in our little framing device, he is the last psychopath in the employ of the Special Crimes Division.
Yes,
giving us something has happened to Savoy, possibly having to do with him taking a bullet for Chu earlier.
Anyway, we get the FDA raiding this illegal chicken warehouse. And they kind of come in. They tell all the people to get down, but instead, of course, they don't. We get a fight breaking out. We see Tony and Savoy on the outside, ready to go in. They're told that they can come in, and they come upon this big safe.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to give the visual for that because
So we have this massive vault.
Yeah.
And to get the code, we have Tony just taking a little slurp of someone's blood.
A little slurp.
Just a little slurp. He's not even dead. Is it cannibalism if he's not even dead?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Cannibalism and murder, different things.
But like, when is it immoral to cannibalize, right?
Importantly, they have like they have chickens in cages, like living chickens in cages in the safe, which is a
real chicken.
Illegal. And chow.
They also have
chow.
Chickens and chow. Yikes.
And it takes like all of 0.5 seconds for the two brothers to start shouting at each other.
In Chow's defense, Tony does immediately say that he should arrest him. I would also yell at Tony.
But Savoy breaks it up. He's like, we're not doing this now. Let's chill out. He gets Chow. I was gonna just say Chu out of there. And Tony is hit in the face with a gun. There's our first montage moment from earlier, and we have this man stand over him with the gun pointed at him, and he is in a bad situation. There's no way out. And Savoy jumps into the way.
Wow!
And he
massive Savoy.
Yeah,
phenomenal panel right there.
Oh yeah,
massive Savoy jumping into frame.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The whole page
so phenomenal. But we get our second montage moment of Tony getting hit with the blood, but we see it's not mostly Savoy's, but Savoy has killed the man who was going to kill Tony. Absolutely.
Was shot in the arm though. So he is getting loaded into an ambulance to get a little bit of attention.
He refers to his abundant physique.
Yes. This is what you were mentioning earlier. Yeah. Which is very fair. It's nice that it's like in the it's in the universe too. It's a nice little thing.
Yeah.
But in any case, Tony is he's got a bloody rag, and he is ingesting it a little bit, just a little bit to get a vision.
I think he ingested it when it hit him in the face, and now he's like wiping it off.
Yeah.
And he gets confirmation that the guy who's going to kill him is the one who cut off our esteemed food safety inspector. What's his name? Ethan.
Pepper. I don't remember his name, but it's Pepper.
Evan Pepper, maybe something like that. But
I think Evan Pepper. I think that's right.
Yeah.
But importantly, he's getting something else, a little bit of something else, but he can't quite pick it up. Yeah. But Savoy tells him, "Listen, go home, get some rest, and then come back tomorrow, and maybe you'll be more equipped to write your report."
Yes.
Tony tries to go to sleep. He's still getting a little bit of something. Which are just whited out panels, by the way.
Well, it's not completely whited out. There's the
there's the shapes.
On camera.
Yeah, there's like
barest hint of a silhouette in there.
It's like a very like yellowy, like not a bright, but it's like ever so slightly
almost a stain.
It's almost like there's like brown underneath the white. Maybe is like I'm just assuming that's maybe how it was done, like in whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Tony can't sleep because of this, so he shows up to the FDA. This is when we get that dog that's been, it's amongst all of the things.
They vacuum sealed the dog.
Yeah, so he's got to consume the dog. So he consumes some of the dog, and then we don't technically see that, but it's the implication.
And he does say later that he ate a putrefied dog.
Yes. But he then meets Savoy outside of the FDA headquarters, and he tells Savoy he was waiting for him. And this is when we get one of the cool. I don't know that I've ever seen this done in comics before. I don't know about you.
The whited out speech bubble.
Yeah. Where like we don't get what he said, but we're like shown that he says something, and then Savoy responds with, "What did you say?" Just such a cool way to do that.
Interesting. It's a really great way to control like the information on the page.
Yeah.
Because then we get the really good page turn moment.
Yes, exactly. That page turn. Yeah. No, you can keep. I just wanted to.
But we get that really great page turn moment where then after seeing Savoy react, we hear Tony repeat himself. He's arresting Savoy because he is the one who killed Evan Pepper. This is not like it's a surprise to Savoy, but he's not trying to cover himself up. He says, "If you saw it, then you saw it," because he knows how powerful of a
Well, that's the important thing too, is that because he was able to get this from like a little tiny bit of Savoy's blood mixed into Savoy's like, "Oh, you must be even more powerful than I thought," and that's a cool thing that we find out that like there's actually power levels to this power. It's not just like you have it. It's like no. There's like actually an amount of power there.
So and Chu is incredibly powerful.
Oh,
so Tony attempts to arrest Savoy, but oh my god, we've seen Savoy in action before. But holy shit,
Boom!
the
One of my favorite panels
absolute
in this
schmack,
series. It's so
phenomenal.
good. And then we actually get the panel that had been whited out,
Yes.
or however you want to call it. That is what you would have seen as the smudge. You know, like it's the same general shape of said smudge.
But it is of Savoy killing Pepper, and
yes.
the two of them start to battle. Savoy reveals that he does not believe that the bird flu was the big killer. He believes that there's something else going on. We get a bit of a flashback. I might be jumping ahead of myself, but we're in the last 10 pages, so not.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing that's revealed here is that Savoy is willing to kill people to get information through their bodies, as he does with Pepper, despite it actually not yielding anything for him. But yeah, the kind of idea is that Savoy, in his investigations, is more than willing to kill a person to get information.
Though not just any person, because he beats the ever-loving shit out of Chew. Because at the end of the day, he is not willing to kill people. He's willing to do what needs to be done to get the information he needs, and Chew doesn't have information that he needs, but he does. Well, I feel like you're making
he's willing to kill people to get information out of them, but that's literally what I said, word for word.
When it needs to be done. I feel like the thing is that he's not out here being a murderer. He's more being a vigilante.
That's why I said he kills for information. Literally anyway.
I just want to emphasize that he's not like a serial killer. He's not doing this remorselessly.
To eat them for information. That's what I said.
But I feel like you didn't emphasize that he just wants to kill
get information. He's willing to kill to get the cannibal information.
He's willing to, but he doesn't want to.
Literally, that's what we're okay. We're gonna move on, but you are literally just saying what I am saying. He,
in any case,
importantly here, bites off Chew's ear.
Horrifying, truly horrifying.
Oh yeah, and then he basically threatens Chew, saying that with the ear he can get all of his secrets, his family, all of that, and he threatens him. He's like, "You stay out of my business." We then get this is Mason Savoy's. We get his full little thing there about basically how he doesn't believe in the bird flu, and then we get a little cool thing of between Savoy and Chew, one of them will die and the other will dine on the flesh of his enemy, which is super cool. And then we get that little
really phenomenal final image
thing, and then we also actually get a translation of the Russian at the end there,
which is fun, because I feel like most of the time in comics they'll do the little asterisk of here's translated from Russian.
Layman did it while you'd have it in the moment, and
exactly, which is what I assumed when I was reading. So he didn't give us the translation, but I like that he did, because I was gonna go back and use my phone because I'm curious. So I appreciate that he put it in there.
Yeah, Katie, Chew, how'd you feel about it?
I absolutely loved it. I think that Layman and Guillory are really a great team together.
Yeah.
There's really wonderful communication across that team that makes every page feel super exciting. The character designs are phenomenal. The way they're all written is amazing.
So
and there are so many good bits of groundwork laid here. Like we said with Amelia, with the whole chicken flu thing, there's so many little loose ends that aren't wrapped up in this first volume because they're meant to be woven through with the rest of the series. And I think you said it's 60 odd issues.
It's 60 issues. Yeah, 60 issues. And then I think there's at least one crossover as well. That's a separate series. So there's a
which is really just phenomenal
stuff.
But Jay, how did you feel about Chew? It was your choice.
I thought it was awesome. No surprise after how much we enjoyed in How We Fight that John Layman's writing is similarly fantastic here. But Guillory's art works so well for this. He has such a cartoony style and proportion wise, and then he has a very I don't even know. I wouldn't call, but his coloring and his rendering isn't cartoony, but his proportions are really cartoony, which is a really interesting visual style for a book.
Really
that has
distinct,
this gruesome vibe to it. So I love it a ton. Everybody kind of has everybody's very almost 2003 Teen Titans-esque, where they're all compressed. I don't know why.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that.
Like, it's kind of compressed, and I really like that for this book. I don't know. It gives it a great visual vibe. But yeah, it's an awesome series. I hope we do more volumes of this for the Strange Saturday Super Show. I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Amazing. But that's going to take us to the end of our Strange Saturday. Be sure to check in with us on Wednesday for our regularly scheduled upload. And if you didn't make it this morning, we did our third Marvel Rivals stream, where we are jumping into ranked. We're recording this before then. Yeah. So who knows how we did, but I'm sure we're already in the top 500.
Check out the Scripteers Gaming channel for that. It'll be linked in the description. Or if you want Katie's perspective, check out our Twitch channel, also in the description. I think next Saturday is going to be no bonus. What's the
next Saturday? I think is a massive first bonus episode.
I thought we weren't recording one for. I guess we were recording. Okay, I don't remember what we're doing. Yeah, you're right. Next Saturday is the
next Saturday should be
it's
massive.
The week after that we're reversing, right? It's the week after that. Okay, yeah. So we'll explain to you guys what's going on Christmas week later. But yeah, next Saturday, Massiverse bonus episode, which I believe is Rogue Sun.
Maybe we'll see. But that's going to take us to an end on this fine Saturday. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Comic Geeks.